the halfway different experience when you come back.
Well, let's go take a look.
Okay, sounds good.
What we're looking at right here is part of our celebration of glass display, and what we thought would be appropriate was to set up what you might have had in your home in 1875, 1880 as far as glassware. So you're not going to find Waterford here, but what you will find is pressed glass in all the different shapes and sizes and the various bowls, utensils, useful types of things that we can compare with what we would have on our table today. Well, basically we're in the Schmid Marine Gallery, and there's a little bit of everything that reflects what was going on here in South County right up until about the 1950s, but we could go back as far as the late 1600s, early 1700s. The lobster that's up on the wall there, I was talking last week to the gentleman who caught it and donated it to the museum. It was pulled up off of south of Block Island. It weighed 30 pounds, and he wouldn't tell me what they did with all the meat, but I'm sure it made a lot of lobster rolls. But certainly that was one of the types of fishing that was done. Other things that we have here, there's a United States Navy commendation plaque that's up on the wall, and if you read it, it seems rather innocuous, but actually a lot of the fishermen in this area during World War II were employed by the federal government as far as coast watching. So that reflects something that was going on there. On this wall we have half models from the Saunders shipyard, which was on Narrow River, and it was probably one of the largest boat builders in the area. He's been recognized by the Rhode Island Hall of Fame as a significant figure. And then down below we have a color portrait that was just donated last year to us of the Streeter brothers, and they worked out of the life-saving station in Narragansett, which today now is the Coast Guard House. Very nice restaurant.
Obviously, fishing's a big part of the state's history, but how much of your time in the General Assembly are you dealing with environmental issues and fishing issues, both to the commercial fishermen, the professional fishermen, and sport fishing and recreational fishing?
We spend a significant amount of time. There's a separate committee set up just for environmental issues. One of the first areas that I addressed as a state rep was to reform the commercial fishing license laws to protect the local fishermen, as Rhode Island at the time was the only open licensing state on the whole East Coast, and where all the other states were putting restrictions on their number of licenses. All of the fishermen were coming to Rhode Island. You would just have to fill out a form and you would get a license, and they were then competing against the local fishermen for the different quotas that were set on the different species. So that was a major reform that we did several years ago, again, to protect Galilee as a viable fishing port and also a wonderful place to visit at the same time. There's a lot of concern at the docks these days, mostly with some of the federal regulations that are being proposed and they're having hearings on. So we've been trying to work as best we can with our federal delegation, the different fishing interests have a strong unified voice, where in the past sometimes the different specialties would compete against each other for different areas, but they're really unified now because the whole industry as we know it hangs in the balance. And we need to ensure that Galilee remains a viable fishing port, that the jobs stay there, that the lifestyle and the very history of our state in large part is on the water, and we need to protect the people that earn their living on the water.
These are Romney sheep. What we try to do is have animals that would have been here in the 1800s. So these are Romneys. They're special wool that the weavers really like and the spinners really like. They're very docile, and at the same time, the wool that they produce is wool that, here he goes, that you would have gotten in South County in the 1800s. Same thing with the Rhode Island red chickens that we have. They're standards. If they were dogs, they'd be called American Kennel Club. And we're one of two places that you can actually see a flock of Rhode Island red standards. The new ones are over here and the mature ones are there, but every year we try to make sure that we keep that breed going and alive, since it is our state bird. Each one of the buildings represents something that would have been in the community as an enterprise off of the farm or away from the ocean. Carpentry shop, certainly you had to have somebody who could make the things that you needed for your house or for your boat, and in this particular case, all of the tools are hand tools for the most part. But again, what's here is a representative of the types of tools that would have been used. And that's one of the things that we think is important with the museum. Not only is it the product, like a chest on chest or something like that, but also what were the tools that they used to manufacture. Because if you look at all these tools, you know that a real live person who lived here in South County, who grew up with his family, was handling this tool. But this is a working blacksmith shop. Generally speaking, you'd find me here working on Saturdays. Again, all of the artifacts that you see up on the walls come from the South County area. But it hasn't changed that much since the 1600s, 1700s. We still work here on a regular basis. It's open year-round in the sense that we have the wood stove. We have a group of blacksmiths who meet here from southern New England on a monthly basis. And a lot of times, some of the things that you find around the museum, if we need more hinges or hooks or that type of thing, we'll be making them here in the shop. The print shop is really one of our hidden gems, if you want to call it that. We have presses that date from the first platen presses from 1850 right up to the last ones that were manufactured in 1950. All of these presses work, they're operative. If you came into the print shop and the printer were here, you could actually print a small souvenir yourself right with the little press that's here. We'd custom make it while the little boy or little girl, or big boy or girl was here. And they would actually get a chance to run off something that was typeset. We've got all of our type out. And so we are, it is a functioning letterpress shop where we do a lot of our work. We also have examples of computer-generated press work, for instance, for our family fair, which is coming up. That was generated by a computer, but if I were to take another poster that we print here, put it next to it, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference except for the color photograph.
Now, where would these presses have come from? Again, are these private donations? Is it something that you own, or are they loaned to you? How did they all arrive at this museum?
They're all private donations. When computer work started to come in and offset presses started to supplant them, people wound up with these, and unless they were a hobbyist, there was really nothing that they were good for, and so they would approach the museum. Would we be interested? And if it was different from the other presses that we have, then the museum accepted them as either a donation, as a gift, or as a loan. But as I said before, all of them are still in working order. And again, some of them reflect specifically South County. We have a press that came from the Lafarge family in Saunderstown. So that's still here, it's still working.
Chairman, every time I travel down to South County, I'm always green with envy of folks like you that get to live here. And in your particular case, you've spent your whole life here. It had to be a tremendous community to grow up in.
It really was fantastic, and in many ways it's the same as I remember growing up. The ball field is the same Little League field that I played on as a kid, the elementary school that I went to, and a lot of the public spaces are also preserved, and it's a great quality of life here in South County. However, we must not forget that there are a lot of hardworking people that also need some assistance, and today we had a great opportunity to go around and see how the community rallies around a great organization like the Johnny Cake Center to provide help to those who really need it.
And obviously, when we heard those statistics today at the Johnny Cake Center, it just proves to you up close and personal how tough times are in this country right now, and how many people are in need of a hand up, and that's when Johnny Cake Center comes to their rescue.
And they really do a great job, not only, like I said earlier, providing basic needs such as food and clothing, but the outreach that they do, the services they provide to the community are really outstanding, and we're very fortunate to have them here in the community.
And as people continue to watch their dollars and cents, if a family wants to do something that's not only entertaining but informative, certainly the South County Museum gives them that option, because they have special rates for groups and for school groups. And again, it's something that a family of 4 or 5 could do rather affordably, and spend an afternoon and really learn about the rich history here in South County.
It really is an encapsulation of how South County was hundreds of years ago. It's a living history, and they do a wonderful job of preserving all of the artifacts that they have, categorizing them, and presenting them to the public to see what life must have been like. I mean, the working blacksmith shop, the working printing press, a lot of the farm equipment, and the livestock and the animals really gives a real first-hand account of what life was like here in South County hundreds of years ago, and they do a great job and are very affordable, and make it very affordable for those who want to visit and see it. So it really is a tremendous asset for our community.
Well, you've been a tremendous host. The citizens here have been most accommodating, and continued success with the Johnny Cake Center. And again, we just urge our viewers to check out the South County Museum. You can't go wrong with either place, because you can give something back and help somebody else, and that's the paycheck in life you can't cash. And number 2, go learn about the rich history of Rhode Island and South County at the museum. Chairman, thanks a million for having us.
Yeah, and thank you, Dave, for bringing your camera and crew down to South County so the rest of the state can see what the wonderful things we have to offer down here.
It is indeed a great place. Thanks again. The people of South County have certainly been most hospitable. I would especially like to thank Chairman David Caprio, who represents this part of the state, and the fine folks at the Johnny Cake Center and the South County Museum. It's certainly been interesting and informative. Thanks for watching. I'm Capital Television's Dave Barber.